Odell Fairbanks opened his mailbox on a Tuesday in Kokomo, Indiana, and found a letter from the Social Security Administration. He was 76 years old. He had been collecting his check for 11 years without a single problem. The letter said that because of an overpayment made to him back in 2019, his benefit would be withheld. Not reduced. Withheld. The full amount. Starting the following month, his check would be $0. Odell read that letter 4 times, standing at the mailbox. Then he went inside, sat down at his kitchen table, and did the arithmetic that every one of us on a fixed income has done at some point. Rent, electric, the part of his medicine that Medicare does not cover, and nothing coming in. Here is what I need you to know before we go one sentence further. Odell got his check back. All of it. And it took him one phone call and one form that costs nothing to file. But he almost did not make that call, because the letter did not tell him he had a choice. And that is the thing I want to fix today, because there are 3 different ways the Social Security Administration can cut your check, and in the worst case, cut it all the way down to 0, and every single one of them has a stop button, a form, a phone call, a deadline. The problem is not that the stop button is hidden. The problem is that the letter that lands in your mailbox does not mention it. Let me put a number on it. If your monthly check is $1,800 and one of these 3 things hits you, you are looking at losing anywhere from $270 a month on the light end to the entire $1,800 on the heavy end. Call it an average of $600 a month across the 3. That is $7,200 a year. Over 20 years of retirement, that is more than $140,000. $140,000. That is a house in some parts of this country. And most people who lose it never find out they could have stopped it. And I want to be honest with you about why that happens, because it is not a conspiracy. It is worse than a conspiracy in a way. It is paperwork. The notices are written by lawyers to be legally correct, not to be helpful. They tell you what is going to happen to you. They do not tell you what you can do about it. Nobody ever sat these folks down and said, here is the form, here are the words, here is the deadline. So today I am going to sit down and tell you, here is how this is going to go. 3 things. The first one hits people who are still working, and it is the one where the money is not actually, people do not know that, and it changes everything. The second one is a debt collection you may not even remember agreeing to, and there is a flaw underneath it that the law guarantees you. And the third one is the one that happened to Odell, the one that can take your whole check, and it is the biggest, so I am saving it for last. Stay with me to the end for that one, because there is a rule that changed recently that most people have not heard about yet. My name is Ellis Grant. I am not a lawyer, and I am not going to pretend to be one. What I am is a man who reads the rules so you do not have to. I read the actual regulations, the actual forms, the actual instructions that the Social Security Administration publishes, and then I translate them into plain English at this kitchen table. That is the whole job. And before we start, I need to say one thing directly to you, because I know how this goes. I do not care if you think this does not apply to you. I do not care if you have been collecting for 15 years with no trouble. I do not care if you are sure you never got overpaid, or you are sure you never had a federal loan, or you are sure your income is too low for any of this to matter. Every single person in this video was sure of the same thing the day before their letter arrived. Odell was sure. Please just watch to the end. It is 20 minutes, and it might be the most valuable 20 minutes of your year. Now, before the first one, let me answer the question I get more than any other. Why has nobody told me this? The honest answer is that nobody is assigned to tell you. The Social Security Administration is required to send you a notice. It is not required to counsel you. There is no employee whose job is to call you up and say, "Listen, before you accept this, you should know about Form 632. The people who work there are handling enormous caseloads, and if you do not ask the right question, the right answer never comes. And there is a second reason, and this one is harder to hear. A lot of people, when that letter comes, feel ashamed. They think they did something wrong. They think if they call and make noise, they will get in more trouble. So they fold. They accept it quietly. You did not do anything wrong. Asking for what the rules already give you is not making trouble. It is the most ordinary thing in the world. Let us go. The first way your check gets cut is called the retirement earnings test. Here is what it is, in one sentence. If you started taking Social Security before your full retirement age and you are still working, Social Security holds back part of your check based on how much you earn. Here is the number. For every $2 you earn above the annual limit, Social Security withholds $1 of your benefit. The limit changes every year, and in recent years it has sat a little above $23,000 a year for people under full retirement age. Please look up the current year's figure, because it moves, but the shape of it does not move. Earn above the limit, and they start holding back half of every dollar over the line. There is a second, friendlier version of this in the calendar year you actually reach your full retirement age. In that year, the limit jumps way up, into the $60,000 range, and the rate drops from $1 in 2 to $1 in 3. And only the months before the month you hit full retirement age count at all. And then, the day you reach full retirement age, the earnings test disappears entirely. Gone. You can earn $1 million and it does not touch your Social Security. Now here is who this applies to, and I need you to listen closely, because this is where people wrongly count themselves in and wrongly count themselves out. Only work income counts. Wages from a job and net earnings from self-employment. That is the whole list. What does not count? Your pension. Withdrawals from your IRA or your 401k, interest, dividends, rental income, annuities, veterans' benefits, capital gains from selling something. None of it counts toward the earnings test. Not $1. I have watched people turn down part-time work they wanted or cash out of a retirement account in a panic because they thought their investment income was going to trigger this. It does not. If you are not earning a paycheck and you are not self-employed, the earnings test does not apply to you at all. And now the part that almost nobody knows, and it is the reason I put this one first. The money is not gone. When Social Security withholds benefits under the earnings test, they are not keeping it. When you reach full retirement age, they recalculate your benefit and give you credit for every month they held back. Your monthly check goes up, permanently, for the rest of your life, to pay you back for what they withheld. Say that back to yourself. It is not a penalty. It is a delay. Bernice Latham is 68, in Pueblo, Colorado. She took her benefit at 62 because her husband got sick and she needed the money. 2 years later, she went back to work part-time at a garden center, 28 hours a week, because she liked it and because things were tight. When Social Security started withholding, she was furious. She told her daughter she was being punished for working. She actually cut her hours down to stay under the limit, gave up money she wanted to earn. Nobody at any point told her that every dollar withheld was coming back to her in a higher check at full retirement age. When she finally found out, she went back up to full hours. She told her daughter she felt like she had been running from a ghost. So here is how you handle this one. If you are under full retirement age and you are working, call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 and use these exact words. I am working and collecting benefits before my full retirement age. I want to confirm my earnings estimate for this year, and I want to confirm that any months withheld under the earnings test will be credited back in my benefit recomputation at full retirement age. Say it just like that. The second half of that sentence is what tells the person on the other end that you know how this works. And report your earnings estimate honestly and early. If you underestimate, they overpay you. And an overpayment is the third thing in this video, and you do not want it. Now I need to stop and give you a warning, because everything I am telling you today makes you a target. The moment people start thinking about Social Security and letters and forms, the scammers show up. Here is the script they use. Someone calls, says they are from the Social Security Administration, and tells you your number has been suspended because of suspicious activity, or that there is a warrant, or that you have been overpaid and you must pay immediately to avoid arrest. Here is the truth, and I want you to hold on to it. The Social Security Administration does not call you out of the blue to threaten you. They do not suspend Social Security numbers. They do not demand payment by gift card, wire transfer, or cryptocurrency. And they do not threaten you with arrest over the phone. Real Social Security business starts with a letter in your mailbox. If you get a call that scares you, hang up. Do not press 1. Do not confirm your number. Hang up. And if you are worried it might have been real, call 1-800-772-1213 yourself, using the number you looked up, not the number they gave you. Anyone who creates urgency and fear is not trying to help you. The real thing moves slowly and in writing. All right, the second way your check gets cut. This one is called an offset, and here is what it is in one sentence. The federal government can take part of your Social Security check to pay a debt you owe to the federal government. Here is the number. Up to 15% of your monthly benefit. On an $1,800 check, that is $270 a month, $3,240 a year, coming off the top before it ever reaches your bank account. Now, who does this apply to? And here is where I need to smash a lot of assumptions. First, the good news, and it is genuinely good. Your ordinary consumer debts cannot touch your Social Security. Credit cards, medical bills, a personal loan, a car repossession deficiency. Federal law protects your Social Security from those creditors. If a collection agency tells you they are going to garnish your Social Security over a hospital bill, they are either mistaken or lying to you. What can reach it is federal debt, and the biggest one, by far, for people in their 70s, is a defaulted federal student loan. And I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, I never went to college, or I paid mine off in 1978. Please listen. The most common version of this is not your own education loan. It is a Parent Plus loan. A federal loan a parent or grandparent took out to send a child or grandchild to school. Sometimes 20, 30 years ago. Sometimes the child promised to make the payments and life happened and they did not. The loan is in your name. The government does not care who was supposed to pay it. Back taxes can do it too, through a separate levy program, also up to 15%. And here is the flaw that the law guarantees you, and almost nobody knows this number. For a defaulted federal student loan offset, the first $750 of your monthly benefit is protected. They cannot take you below it. If your entire check is $750 or less, they cannot offset it at all. Horace Trimble is 73, in Dothan, Alabama. He co-signed, that is how he described it, though it was actually a Parent Plus loan in his own name, for his son's last 2 years of school in the early 90s. His son made payments for a while, then stopped. Then they lost touch for a stretch of years, the way families sometimes do. Horace had no idea the loan existed until his check came up $204 short 1 month, with no explanation he could find. He assumed it was a mistake at the bank. He spent 5 weeks calling the wrong people. Here is how you handle this one, and there are 2 steps. Step 1. Find out who is actually taking it. Call the Treasury Offset Program call center at 1-800-304-3107. That line exists for exactly this purpose. It will tell you which federal agency is claiming the debt. It cannot resolve the debt, do not expect it to. It tells you who to call next. Step 2. Call that agency and use these exact words. I am requesting a review of this offset based on financial hardship, and I am requesting the forms to dispute the debt and to request a hearing. For a defaulted student loan specifically, ask about 2 more things by name: loan rehabilitation and consolidation. Both are paths out of default, and getting out of default stops the offset going forward. Ask, in these words, what are my options to get this loan out of default so the offset stops? And if there is a disability involved, ask about total and permanent disability discharge. It exists, it is real, and it wipes the loan out entirely for people who qualify. One more thing on timing. When an offset is coming, you get a notice first, and there is a window, often 30 days, to request a hearing before it starts. If you are holding a notice like that right now, that window is the most valuable thing in your hand. Do not let it close. All right. The third one. This is the biggest, this is the one I have been promising you, and this is what happened to Odell. It is called an overpayment. Here is what it is in 1 sentence. Social Security decides that at some point in the past it paid you more than it should have, and now it wants the money back. And here is why it is the worst of the 3. It is retroactive. The mistake can be from 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 11 years ago in Odell's case. It very often was not your fault. A reporting error, a recalculation, a change in a spousal or survivor benefit, a delay in processing something you reported on time. And historically, the way they collected it was brutal. They would withhold 100% of your monthly check until the debt was paid off. Your entire income. Gone. That is what Odell's letter said. Here is the number. It can be your whole check. $1,800 a month, $0 deposited, for however many months it takes. Now here is the change I told you to stay for, and it matters enormously. Social Security changed its default. For retirement, survivors, and disability benefits, the standard withholding rate for recovering an overpayment is now 10% of your monthly benefit, not 100%. 10%. On an $1,800 check, that is $180 a month instead of $1,800. That is the difference between an inconvenience and losing your home. But, and this is the whole reason this video exists, that is the default going forward. If you are already on a collection arrangement from before, or if a notice arrives quoting you a bigger number, it does not fix itself. You have to ask. And you have 3 forms to ask with. Write these down, or just remember that there are 3, and call and ask for them by name. Form SSA 561 is a request for reconsideration. This is the one you file when you believe you were not overpaid at all, or the amount is wrong. And here is the critical detail. If you file it quickly, within 30 days of the notice, collection stops while they review it. You generally have 60 days to file, but the first 30 are the ones that pause the money. Form SSA 632 is a request for waiver of overpayment recovery. This is the big one. This is Odell's form. You file this when the overpayment was not your fault, and paying it back would cause you financial hardship or would simply be unfair. There is no deadline on this one. You can file it at any time, and if it is granted, you do not pay it back. Not a reduced amount. Nothing. The form SSA 634 is a request for change in overpayment recovery rate. This is the one you use when you are not disputing the debt. You just cannot afford what they are taking. You file this and ask them to take less each month. Now, who qualifies? And here is the self-exclusion I need to smash. People read the notice, see language suggesting they should have known, and conclude the waiver is not for them. Read that again. The waiver asks whether the overpayment was your fault, not whether it happened. If Social Security miscalculated, or processed something late, or changed a determination years after the fact, that is not your fault, and you should be filing. And the hardship half is not a high bar. It means paying it back would leave you unable to meet your ordinary living expenses. For someone living on a fixed Social Security income, that is very often simply true. Winifred Sayer is 79 in Klamath Falls, Oregon. Her overpayment came from a survivor benefit recalculation after her husband died, a change made on Social Security's side months after she had reported his death exactly when she was supposed to. 4 years later, a letter arrived saying she owed just over $9,000. She told her nephew she was going to sell her husband's truck to pay it. Her nephew asked her one question: "Did they say it was your mistake?" She said, "No, it does not say that anywhere." He said, "Then why are you selling the truck?" She filed the 632. It took months. The truck is still in the driveway. So here is exactly how you handle this one. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go into your local office and say these exact words. "I have received an overpayment notice. I am requesting a waiver of overpayment recovery on Form SSA 632, and I am requesting that collection stop while that request is pending. If the waiver is denied, I am also requesting Form SSA 634 to lower the recovery rate to an amount I can afford." That one sentence contains everything: the form, the pause, and the fallback. Write it on an index card and keep it by the phone. And one more thing. Ask for a receipt. Ask for the date your request was received and write it down with the name of the person you spoke to. If you mail a form, send it in a way you can prove. This is the single most common failure point: a form that was filed and then treated as though it never was. Now, let me tell you why this year in particular. Social Security has been under real pressure to recover past overpayments, and the volume of these notices is not going down. At the same time, the rules about how they collect changed in the last couple of years in your favor. That gap, new rights, old letters, and a lot of people who have never heard about either, is exactly where money gets lost. The people who ask are getting a very different outcome than the people who fold. That is not a hypothetical. That is just what is happening right now. Let me add all this up for you. The earnings test, handled correctly. You stop cutting your hours out of fear, and you understand the withheld money is coming back in a permanently higher check. For someone in Bernice's position, working the hours she actually wanted, that is easily several $1,000s a year in earnings she was giving up, plus the recomputation later. The offset stopped. $270 a month, back on an $1,800 check. $3,240 a year. The overpayment, handled with the right form, the difference between $0 and your whole check, or at minimum, the difference between 100% and 10% withholding. On that same check, that is $1,620 a month, while the debt is being recovered, and if the waiver is granted, the entire debt, which in Winifred's case was $9,000. Stack that up, and you are talking about a range that starts around $5,000 a year and goes much higher depending on which one hit you. Over a 20-year retirement, that is well past $100,000, and every bit of it costs nothing to ask for. Every form I named today is free. Nobody needs to be paid a percentage to file it for you. If somebody offers to handle your overpayment waiver for a fee, you can do it yourself with one phone call and a form the government gives you at no charge. Now let me finish Odell's story, because I started this with him and you deserve the end of it. Odell called. He used almost exactly the sentence I gave you. His daughter-in-law wrote it out for him on the back of an envelope. He requested the waiver on the 632. He requested that collection stop while it was pending. He asked for the name of the person he spoke with and the date, and he wrote both on the same envelope. It was not fast. Nothing about this is fast. It took most of a year. But his check came back, and the overpayment was waived, and he never sold anything, and he never missed his rent, because collection was paused while they looked at it. He told me the thing that stayed with him was not the money, it was that the letter had made him feel like a man who had done something wrong. And he had not done anything wrong. He had just gotten a letter that told him what was going to happen to him and did not tell him what he could do about it. So let me recap, quickly. 1. The earnings test. Only wages and self-employment count, not your pension, not your IRA, not your dividends. And the money withheld is not lost. It comes back in a higher check at full retirement age. 2. Federal offsets. Credit cards and medical bills cannot touch your Social Security. Federal student loans can, including a Parent Plus loan you may have forgotten about, up to 15%, with the first $750 protected. Call 1-800-304-3107 to find out who is taking it. 3. Overpayments. 3 forms. 561 to dispute it, 632 to have it waived entirely, 634 to lower the monthly bite. The 10% default is your friend. And filing quickly is what pauses the collection. I am not a lawyer, and none of this is legal advice about your specific situation. Every case has its own facts, and the numbers I quoted move from year to year, so confirm the current figures when you call. What I can tell you is that all of these are real rules, published by the agency, and all of them are yours to ask for. If this was useful, subscribe and turn the bell on, because I do one of these every week, and there is always another rule nobody told you about. And do me one favor. Send this to somebody you love who is over 65. Not because of the algorithm, because somewhere out there is a woman about to sell her husband's truck over a letter she never had to accept. If she hears this first, she keeps the truck. That is worth more than a view. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time.